Ladies and gentlemen, the opportunities are fantastic. The challenges, however, also. What will it take? Why do ports have to become smart? And what is the behavioral change that we need? Because IT is there, solutions are there, but it's human, it are people who have to do it. If you think about the world in the 21st century, that we will see changes that go faster and faster and faster. If you look at the social demographics, the world population is going from 7 to 9 billion people. That means an explosion. But it's not everywhere the same. The US is aging. Europe is aging and shrinking. If you look at a country like Germany, that more than 30% of the population will be 65 years and older. And I'm going to be one of them. If you go to Africa, if you go to the Middle East, if you go to India, the population is still getting younger. And of course, it doesn't apply to us, but in general, young people are more innovative than older people. If you look at the diversity, then the world will be more diverse than ever. Also economically. The GDP growth, we all know that, in emerging countries is faster and will overtake the GDP of the developed world. But the other thing that's happening, that if you look, we just heard about Lufthansa, but if you look now what's happening in the Middle East, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Qatar, these new airlines are coming up with a speed, 80 million passengers next year for Emirates. And you know, I always say that God was able to create the world in 7 days because there was no installed base. Probably with ports, it will go a little bit slower to build a port, but a lot of innovation will come out of places that we're not used to. Thirdly, the big thing is the environment. Global warming, we can't go in like we do and like we do. We have to reduce energy, and I'll show you that it's relatively early and relatively easy. So, my first statement, it's about sustainability. Smart solutions, the use of IT. It's all about staying competitive economically, but also staying competitive socially, where the young people want to live, work, play, and learn. Can a city like Hamburg still attract young people? A city like Barcelona, how do we get the workforce that we want? And the third thing is that environmental. If the city is not clean, then people will move away. And so it is about that balance that we have to look at economic, socially, and environmental. That's what competition is going to be about in that three-dimensional circle. Next statement. If you look at that Hamburg, and then that we are here, and thanks for hosting us, to the organizer, Jens. But if you think about it, the port is in the city. An ability to expand geographically, increasing transport demands. Capacity has to be doubled to stay competitive. These boats are getting bigger and bigger, these vessels. I was here with Jens in January when the biggest new ship landed, 39,000 containers, I think. But do we want that? Do we really need it? We have seen it in the airline industry with the 380s, these big planes. People are saying, hey, it's a lot of infrastructural cost. Do we really have to do that? So, is there another way to increase capacity? Here is my real story. This is what my content is all about. Bear with me for a moment that I explain it to you. My father was an architect in Rotterdam. And I still say that with proudness, because Rotterdam is a big harbor. Just want to make the point. But he was a physical architect, ladies and gentlemen. He built roads, airport, library, harbor. And you know, I still remember as a child that he took me by the hand to the harbor and he said, Wim, when you have my age, the harbor will not be in the city, the harbor will be outside of the city. And that happened. I take my children by the hand and we talk about, will the future competition of Rotterdam be in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia, with a transport, a railroad to Germany? I don't know, but 50, 60 years from now, that's how that will look and how they will catch up. The point I tried to make is that so cities with ports that have something special, I think, that it's entrepreneurial, and it's always that the cities on the coast who were the most entrepreneurial cities. And so the port is the center. But we look more horizontally, the city, a hospital, a highway, a factory. And now I come to my point. We have a physical infrastructure, and what we basically do now with IT, that with technology, we create a digital overlay. And suddenly, you can start connecting things that in the physical world is not possible. And that we know that we are very siloed. That we think in transport, we think in traffic, we think in energy, and oftenly these type of organizations don't talk to each other. Do you recognize that? Yes. If you get data up, and the question is that yeah, we already had a question about big data. I always say big data is bullshit, actually. It's not about the big data, it's about how you make it information. How do you make it knowledge? And how do you make it wisdom? And we think that you only need 2% of all the data available to come to better informed and real-time type of decisions. It's not, data is great, but how do you do something intelligently with it? And so stay with me. I think one of the most disruptive applications we see in the world is Uber. You know Uber? Who has ever used Uber as a taxi service? It's extremely disruptive. It's the first American company who was able to get Europe unified in a strike. But it are young people who create a company in 4 years of $40 billion. They are in 123 cities and they disrupt. Ladies and gentlemen, I lived in Bangalore myself for 4 years in India, a city that moves from 1 million people to 10 million people in 15 years. They love Uber because it will take cars from the road. It will really reduce traffic. But you know, in Europe we think different, and we have to think different because we have regulation and we have all kinds of schemes. So the world is diverse. The point I want to make again here, and that if you think, and IT, a lot of people think that IT is too slow, but nowadays we have apps on our phone, on our tablets. Did you know that an average phone user is spending 2 hours a day already looking at apps? 6 years ago, it didn't even exist. I have 2 boys of 15 and 18. I think they spend 6 hours a day on apps. And I don't like that, but it's happening. And you know, they basically have 2 statuses in life. They are asleep or they are online. Is it good? Is it bad? You know, history will tell, but it's a fact that apps are there. At this moment, on a weekly basis, 100 movies are produced, 250 books, and 15,000 apps. It's the fastest growing industry. Did you know that Volker talked about the Internet of Things, that we connect 300,000 things to the Internet every hour? 30 million a week. It's a technology that's going faster than anything before in history. We think at this moment that 15 billion devices are connected already. 15 billion devices. And it's exploding. And then what we talked, that everything that is connected to the internet starts producing data. Data, how do you make it information? How do you make it knowledge? How do you make it wisdom? That Dr. Saskia here in Hamburg has already an integrated operations center where all that data comes together, by which the port can make more intelligent decisions. So we are used to a physical world. We're putting a digital overlay on top of it, and we're going to break the silos Departments suddenly are going to work together. And we define a smart city as a city where more than 3 groups work together. And then you say, of course. But we all know in daily life, that's not of course. And if I look here that we have the police sitting, that next to the CIO, next to the they seem to talk, and that's great. Because that will enable all these type of opportunities. And so it is that behavioral change that first, IT is just a tool. IT is not the solution. IT is an enabler. And that enabler, we should use wisely. Are you with me? Still early? Come on. The opportunity. And that makes it so spectacular. And so if we talk about sustainability and competitiveness, it's all about $19 trillion. And I'm real here. And so we talk, if you really tap that opportunity from the technology, you enable the applications, people work better together, and that all these solutions together that you then can enable. And Uber is already 40 billion, don't forget it. And we don't like it, but it's there. You talk about a 19 trillion. We've estimated for Germany, the opportunity is 900 billion. In Barcelona, we've done a study with the previous government. It's a $4 billion opportunity. In Dubai, based on 17 use cases, we see an opportunity of almost 5 billion. And Dubai wants to be the smartest city. That competition is coming. So the main things is innovation and new revenue streams. That if we work better together, and we think more horizontal, and we really start using all that data, there will be a new business models. Supply chains, ports know much more about it than I do, but there's a lot to optimize. Asset utilization, at 2.5. Did you know that 70% of energy is used in cities? 70% of that 70% is used in buildings. Buildings have the utilization of only 40%. And so just increasing that a little bit. And another example. A lot of ports get now terminals for tourism, for trips. Dubai has done a great job coming in the country and that you don't need your passport. Iris scan and you're in. It saves an enormous lot of time. But then you come in your hotel, and what do? You have to show your passport. And it takes 10 minutes. If you open up that information also to the hotels and you share that and you connect digitally, you can save that and you don't have to do that. And so if you have 10 million visitors a year and you save 10 minutes, you save 100 million minutes. Just there. That's simple. We can do it in 3 months. The technology is there. But it's the behavioral change that we need and that people accept that. And that they see the opportunity. And we have video sensing here in transport now as a proof of concept. And you can see it if you make the tour, it's there. But people are worried and say, is that Big Brother watching me here? No, we pixel it. The technology can do that. You don't see faces, don't be nervous. You don't see licensing plates, you can still drive too fast. And that we can do that in Germany is fantastic, I love it. But the point I tried to make is that how do you get that acceptance for that technology? And so don't try to read this. That here are the top use cases by industry that all make up that 19 trillion. What is it for ports? I don't know. We're learning that. That we're learning here to work, to find it out. I think that an opportunity in ports, if you embrace the technology and smart solutions, that it's relatively easy to make a couple of billions. Easy. So, Hamburg. I think Hamburg is going to be the first IOE, what we call Seatropolis. And we know Aerotropolis, but where you have a harbor, the city, the haven city, everything integrated. Smart systems, smart sensors, all together. You will hear a lot about it today. The benefits, but that if we make cities, if we make ports smart, it will create new jobs. And that's what it's all about in Western Europe. It will attract more FDI, foreign investments. Energy savings of 30% are relatively easy. And we have a use case, get used to the word use case. And we have a use case here in the city with LED lighting, and it follows movement. If there's nobody in the evening, why should the lights burn? It's a 50% saving. It's a proof of concept. It's there. It's all there. Water consumption, a reduction of 50%, relatively easy. If people are more happy, and we talk about it, sustainability, crime rates go down by 20%. Traffic reductions of 30%, easy. But also inclusiveness for underprivileged people in bad neighborhoods, in Rio de Janeiro, in Africa, in India. Like I said, I lived 5 years in India myself. Had a technology-enabled education for 3 students per month. And we're working here with UKE, the hospital, had to get very, very ill children who have treatment. They stay connected to the classroom virtually. And they still have a social life, technology-enabled. We have a fantastic testimonial here in the hospital. But also education. At $3 virtually with technology enablement. Technology, and we all know that, and education are the big equalizers in society. But dare to use it. So my key takeaways. I know otherwise Max will come and kick me off the stage. And I have to wrap up here. If you agree with me that the world is getting increasingly diverse, data-driven, don't see it as a threat. See it as an opportunity. But make the data information. And digitalization of society, ladies and gentlemen, is happening. And let me give you one example of that. Who is making pictures on film? Anybody here? I see a lot of cameras, probably not. Also in hospitals, pictures are now, X-rays are digitized. Do you know that the company who invented photography, Kodak, in 2012 with 136,000 people went bankrupt? They didn't see the move coming. And so we think that that whole digitalization is an enormous opportunity, but also a threat. Embrace it. Security, of course, should be top of mind in everything we do. But think to go from data to information to knowledge to wisdom. We need new smart regulation. We have to work together with government to build regulation that anticipates all these opportunities. We need new ecosystems. And we have to do this collaborative, we have to do this inclusiveness. And so my real last statement, if you embrace these opportunities and you socialize it and you take people seriously and you work with them and you explain, you can go for exponential opportunities. Don't think in 5%, in 10, think in doubling things, taking 100% of costs out. Thank you very much.